Good evening, and welcome back to Bloodstone, a Four Dads 5th edition D&D campaign set in the Forgotten Realms. I am your host slash dungeon master, 8-Bit and I had this whole numerical thing that I was going to do going into this. The Four Dads 5th edition, I don't even remember what the other thing was, but I was struggling with an 8, and 8-Bit would have been perfect. Regardless, we're back after a week hiatus. Thank you for being patient with us. If you will recall, we had a little bit of a technical issue during last last Bloodstone stream, and that appears to have been resolved. At least I think so. I've got the cast here with me, or at least part of them. How's it going, cast?
Hey.
Great.
That seems to be working. Great.
Fantastic.
Macario will be with us momentarily. Macario let us know that he was going to be a little bit late. Dad stuff. Sprout, unfortunately, will not be with us at all tonight. He is under the weather and will be joining us, hopefully, next session. Well, without any further ado, I suppose we will dive right in. When last we left our intrepid group of adventurers, our party has back together, or at least mostly back together. Sprout is off kind of doing his own little thing, which we will talk about in a little bit more detail whenever Sprout is back. But the rest of the party has come together at Oakhart, the ancestral manse of the Oaks family, of which the scion is Eldrick, the Baron Eldrick Oaks, recently ascended to that title after some heroic deeds were recognized by king and country, and the previous Baron unfortunately wound up dead. The party had come together on Eldrick's request after being apart for a few days in the city of Heliogabalus, and after a dinner in which the party had an opportunity to meet and socialize somewhat with Eldrick's mother, Madeline Oaks. Right back down to business. The party deciding what they're going to do now, and what their next move should be in the grand scheme, the grander campaign that they are a part of. Some revelations, I suppose, came of the discussion, the dinner. thoros'l recalled during some conversations some details about ley lines that could potentially be the focus of what the party believes is an imminent or incoming ritual that is somehow centered around the stones or the artifacts of which Eldrick currently carries two. The memory that thoros'l had referred to a book that was carried or was provided to the party by a figure from their past, a fairly recent past, I suppose, and was perhaps a linchpin in some of the planning that the party is going to be doing going forward. Short break. We just finished our wrap-up. The party, what remains of the party, is chilling out at Oakhart after dinner, discussing their plans, discussing their expectations, or their what is that noise? Jesus. Can I ask you guys to mute if you're not specifically talking, because there's a lot of background noise tonight? Thank you. So we're gathered with our party around the table. We're discussing documents that were recovered from previous iterations of the campaign or previous adventures on the campaign, attempting to kind of pull all of that information together into some kind of cohesive opinion or plan or something of that nature. The party seems to be making some strides into figuring out just exactly what the hell is going on with the stones and with whatever antagonists may exist out there. Who may be enemies, who may be allies. But we will pick up with the party still around the table, still discussing their next move. So, Cast, I will throw that to you to decide what you want to do next.
If I remember, we had this book out, and we were going to ask Macaria to kind of take a look at it to see if she could discern where this ley line confluence might be in Helio.
Yeah, is it under the city? Is it under the house? Is it a mile west? That sort of thing. Try to pinpoint it so we can, you know, make a decision about it.
Okay. Well, the map that you have is it's not very fine grain. Being able to see that there are ley lines that cross over the city of Heliogabalus, that much you can discern that it is directly over. There is a confluence that crosses directly on the representation of Heliogabalus on the map. Other than that, whether you can determine that it's directly under the house or whatever, that's your map isn't exactly isn't going to be fine grain enough for that.
Right, but the question is, knowing that it's quote unquote in the vicinity, is there anything Macaria can do to, suss it out? Like, is there like is that a divining rod? Zeroes in on it. I mean, she got two horns, right? So like, if we just like hold on to the horns, does it lead us there?
I will leave that to Macaria then.
I truly hope that was not in character, but
No, it was not. Definitely not.
yeah,
Eldrick is not.
Macaria would be definitely pouring over the book with the ley lines and flipping through. She'll take a moment, her hand running down the spine, flip it over, take a second look, and then just keep going back over again, and then hopefully trying to come up with a plausible way to say maybe in the city ? In a more arcane way of I have no way of figuring this out without like an actual divining rod of magic, because my spells are a little bit less pinpoint even with the new information.
Go ahead and make me an Arcana check, Macaria.
Oh, I can try.
This is where Macaria finds out that she can actually smell ley lines.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be the best.
Part of her demon heritage.
Core.
You may know what we need to find it.
Ooh, 28.
28's not bad.
Knows something.
Okay, so with a 28, I will say that Macaria understands the nature of ley lines as being there's sort of a metaphysical, but a metaphysical theory within in the arcane. There's never been a wizard or a sage of any type that you are aware of that has verified or confirmed the presence or absence of ley lines, even in places where they are rumored to be, or where magic is the strongest. But if the theory is in fact correct, and there is evidence that supports that it is, if the theory is in fact correct and you were to find a confluence, like a direct confluence, it could be as much as a mile wide. Like the ley lines could be a mile wide, or they could be like an inch wide. You wouldn't necessarily know until you attempted to cast some kind of spell within that location. If you were to, say, for instance, walk around the city of Heliogopolis continually casting spells, you may find locations within the city that your spells feel a little more powerful. But how you would measure that, how you would know for sure that you're standing on a ley line or at a confluence of ley lines, you have no idea. There are areas where you have been, specifically the cavern of Merimedra, where magical phenomena were present that you were able to physically feel within the fiber of your being. Your connection to the weave told you that the weave corruption that had been pervasive throughout the cavern of Merimedra, you knew that immediately. The first time you stepped into the cavern, the first time you tried to cast a spell there. You have no reason to believe that ley lines, or at least a confluence of ley lines, would be any different. If you ever came across an area of intensified connection with the weave, you would know it. And thus far, being within the city of Heliogopolis and being within the manor of Oakheart, you have felt no such thing.
Okay. What about the schemata here, Macaria?
I mean, that does. I don't think it's a designed to develop to enhance, but it's a little beyond me. This is multi, not just arcane. This has other fields involved that I can't comprehend at the time. There's nothing there.
Do you see anything that indicates how big? I mean, do we see anything on this schemata that indicates size?
You, in the schema itself, no. You will recognize that it does call for a cubic shape. The thing that is trying to be built, or the thing that this is trying to instruct on how to build, is a perfect cube. There are notes on the measurements on a side, but they're in a language that none of you, I don't think, understand. At least in written language, I don't think any of you understand that language. That written language.
Similarly, the materials would be in that language.
There are actually some notes in the Damaran tongue, the common tongue, that were clearly written after the original schema, as in a different hand for sure, similar to the hand that has written notes in some of the margins in the other books. It's in a shorthand that is very, very difficult to read, but I will let you make an intelligence check to see if you can decipher any information.
Okay. 13 for me. Intelligence check.
23 if I'm looking over his shoulder.
Is you did a save? Is that the same as just a straight up check, or are you missing? Are you adding 5?
Probably a 16.
I'm adding. Sorry. So
you rolled an 11, or you rolled a 12.
Yeah. So minus 6. Sorry. 8.
Minus 6. Okay, so
17.
17. 17 is still pretty good.
17.
Yeah, with a 17, 13, you're able to pick out little bits and pieces here and there. You can pick out that there is it calls for, the shorthand isn't providing specifics as far as the deciphering the dimensions, but it's like a grocery list almost. It's like listing components and amounts of components, and it specifically is looking for obsidian, and in copious amounts. We're talking hundreds and thousands of tons of obsidian, and something called Bluesilver. Arcana check again, Macaria.
Ugh.
Oh, yeah.
29.
You have heard of Bluesilver before. 29. Yeah, you've heard of Bluesilver before. It is supposed to be kind of a magical catch-all. It can be substituted in for a number of different other types of metallic components. It is supposed to...
It's like the ditto.
Yeah.
Ditto of components.
Yeah, it's like the ditto of components. Like the universal solvent. If you can't figure out what else to add, just add water. If you can't figure out what else to hold all of this together, Bluesilver. Bluesilver is exceedingly rare, though. It is something that has to be. It doesn't occur naturally. It has to be synthesized, and it is very, very difficult to synthesize and very expensive to synthesize. Only the most powerful wizards or sorcerers or arcanists, I suppose, artificers, are able to do it because it is so powerful. It does have some very specific properties that you would call to mind, in that it tends to amplify spell types or spells of varying schools when cast through or around Bluesilver, and it does it in very specific ways. Like, for instance, Bluesilver can be used to either enhance divination magic, or aligned in certain ways, certain schematic can be used to nullify divination magic, depending on the configuration of the runes that you build or that you etch with or that you inlay with Bluesilver. You can either enhance the abilities of spells or protect against those types of spells.
So essentially, the most powerful now, and it is the quote-unquote how to make it not well known, but like it's not like the most closely guarded secret, but it's like, well, it's so beyond almost everyone that
You are pretty certain with a 29. You are pretty certain that you accidentally happened upon a treatise in Candlekeep on how to create it, but it was so far beyond anything that you felt you would ever be able to do.
yeah, so it's like, okay, back shelf, way, who knows, someone's gonna dig for it. Okay.
It's not
How-
impossible
how
to do. There's no quantity on the Bluesilver. It's basically just question marks. But you can see that where the notation is made, there are certain segments of the construction that are intended to be inlaid with runes that are filled in with this Bluesilver. So based on the size, if it's a a 5x5 cube, then you can figure out what the size of the runes would be, and then use the amount of Bluesilver for that. If it's a 50x50, you can extrapolate for that. It's geometric at this point.
Okay, so if this is such a controlled substance, Baron Eldrick or Alanir, using your connections, could we not figure out who's importing this stuff? If it is being imported?
I mean, maybe it's not anybody who can afford the unobtainium of this world is going to be able to get it put on the customs books as dog chow, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I can
even
get you a
then,
recipe.
I want. I'm just saying that might be a way to
can get us a
investigate that.
recipe.
It's in Candlekeep somewhere, way buried.
Well, let's keep that in our back pocket as plan C. I don't necessarily want to bring the recipe to make something that we don't necessarily know it's going to be used for here. We don't have to, but we can certainly try to use our connections to ask around about it. I don't expect to find much. Unless Alan here just happens to know the most powerful wizard in the country.
All I mean by that, Baron, is that there's going to be some sort of trail. This stuff doesn't just appear out of nowhere. I mean, I suppose it could, but
I mean,
it's
it
coming from
probably
somewhere,
does,
and
but only
if
around the
it's
most
hard to
powerful.
make,
No, certainly.
I mean, I have a serious feeling that anyone who would be making this stuff or importing it is going to have a lot of connections, probably greater than our own,
oh sure,
enough to keep it from prying eyes.
I don't disagree. It's just an avenue to pursue. I mean, if I
certainly
were
have.
a powerful wizard and I made it, I would just teleport it there, and that would be the end of it. But maybe put in an order yourself. Find people that can make it and put in orders. See who's available for orders and who waves you off. That gives you an indication.
How big is that Oaks credit card?
It's pretty goddamn big. Certainly, I suspect.
And if it's this much obsidian, this thing could be massive. I mean, Makaria, who's currently not sitting at the screen, might be able to divine for this stuff, or maybe we can try to track this Bluesilver.
Sorry, I'm currently having like a brain memory from the Impilter game that is making me think I know where this thing is. But anyway, the
brain memory.
brain fart. Sorry.
So many brain memories.
And certainly we could check if we are concerned that that Titus is involved. We could certainly check his records in his offices.
Do you think your dad's involved with this?
I mean, you met my dad once, and that's what the guy threw us the bag in the scary armor looked like when he took his helmet off.
Well,
I find it hard to believe, but if I need to check his personal records to prove that it's not the case, then I'll do so. It's too important not to. And I'm still troubled by the stones glowing here, or at least appearing to glow here.
Oh, here's an idea. Maybe the
Yes.
stones glow in one of these ley line confluences.
Yeah, the big question is whether or not the stones glow here or whether or not the stones glow now. Whether or not it's a spatial or a time component. And I have yet to leave the property to identify whether or not it's a spatial component. And quite frankly, I didn't notice when they were glowing, so I don't know how far away from the manor I'd have to go to prove that out.
Well, also, we don't, as it's already been stated, we don't know the size of this.
Well, they weren't glowing at the inn that we were in.
At the Bloodstone Arms?
Yeah. Do Makaria, do ley lines, are they static in theory, are they static or do they move?
8 bits. So metaphor, currents of water or like layers of stone.
Or like tectonic plates, like fault lines. It's not impossible for them to move. And
Effort, energy, event, something.
correct. It's not. They're not just constantly shifting.
Yeah.
In theory.
Gotcha. So it's
Yeah.
not just
And
waving
so
around.
theory wise should be pretty easy to locate and keep one in a certain area, or know where one is in a certain area. If. And thoros'l, to answer your question about divining, I am not a diviner, and I'm sure you could pay someone to find an object made of it, or at least a bit of it, but the odds of you being in the right vicinity would be very slim.
You know, that thought had occurred to me to find it by a locating object. But I think the limitations of that spell would probably make it not useful.
What specific limitation would be that?
Well, mostly if it's hidden behind stone or thick enough stone, magic wouldn't be able to locate it.
Is this an expensive spell to cast?
No.
Couldn't hurt to try.
I'd be happy to track down every source of this stuff in Heliogoblus if it means finding what we're looking for.
There
I
are
mean, we're not doing anything else, are we, Eldrick?
there are a lot of very, very rich people in this city. While I don't expect that many of them would have it, it would not be impossible for small traces of it to be about in various ways, I would think. Lucaria, is this like this is I mean, if this is the wonder metal, I'd have to imagine that it would be not completely unheard of in the city with this many wealthy benefactors.
I'm sure you just find who is the resident mage of the greatest importance and pomp will probably have a connection, whether or not it's a real one. Whoever is running illegal trade might have an idea. But if you have enough money, just commission Baron.
Well, this is all just if we can even track this stuff, right? But even if we don't investigate all the super wealthy manors, that would help narrow the search.
Well, yeah, here's also the other hindrance for the spell. It would have to be an object that you're familiar with, that you've seen, that you've touched. So we would have to get some of this. I mean, I could do the spell, but without actually having and being familiar with the object, it won't work.
Out of character for a second. I very much feel like this scene plays off as like Elon Musk's kid searching for like the most expensive weed. Like we're like, do you think your dad has any? Maybe he's got some friends that got some. Where do we think we can? Maybe there's a dealer into town. I mean,
look,
certainly that is an option.
I don't want to give us too many options here, but I've spent most of my life either tracking people down or killing people for coin. So I just want to put everything on the table and try to find what we're looking for. I'd rather be somewhere at the right time, laying in wait, than walking in at the after it's too late. We need to find this location or track down the people making it.
Agreed. And tomorrow, I think we can do a multi-pronged approach so that we can synergize our effort.
Stop using buzzwords and
What do you
explaining
have?
what you mean.
I'm a baron now.
Yeah.
I've got to get high efficiency going
Russell
on.
stabs him in the throat, and then
And
There's the end of
campaign.
Might I posit?
Your enemies were the
Baron.
friends you met all along.
Might I posit? And
Absolutely,
Macaria
Macaria.
points at the ridiculous amount of obsidian that is highly noted.
right.
That might
Why don't we
actually
just
be-
start with something a little bit easier to locate? I mean, I'm sure we can find obsidian somewhere and let our good friend touch it, lick it.
I mean, I don't need to lick it.
Oh, okay.
Wait.
I mean,
If it's that much
Just
obsidian, it
to
should
let-
be gargantuan. This structure
I
should be.
I suspect that'll be significantly easier to track down, certainly, and especially if they're driving that through the books. I'd have to imagine that there's a limited number of obsidian dealers in the city, who, for the right name or coin, would probably be willing to
and
speak with us.
capacity for this much.
But I have
well,
another
size,
idea.
what are you putting in it? What do we posit they're going to put in this to either extract or combine?
I mean, I expect that they're building the site for the ritual that you told us about not 45 minutes ago.
Yes, but my ritual could be huge, or I'll pull out my wand and set it down. Or I could spend a lot of time trying to take this property out, almost like an enchantment, and do that. But obviously, different means, different ends.
Macaria,
Right.
with a 28 and a 29 in your last two Arcana checks, and specifically on a 28 on looking over the schema, you don't see off the top of your head. It doesn't make a lot of sense to you why this specific structure would be helpful for the ritual, unless it is some kind of reservoir, in which case, maybe the target for the ritual's conclusion, if you were taking power from whatever and shunting it through a focus of a type toward a
Yeah, just put it over there. I'll get it. We don't need to put it in there right now because it's not really running.
Souls mute. Unless you're using a very large obsidian cube as some kind of, unless you're expecting to use it as some kind of reservoir for the power,
Like a battery?
more like a, like a battery, I guess.
Like a rechargeable prison battery?
Possibly, but the ritual itself, like the geometrical structure, the arcane structure, all of that is constructed at the casting of the ritual. You're creating all of the necessary parts that you need to actually perform the transference. You wouldn't need this unless you're looking to permanently store the energy that you're transferring in in this cube. But even so, why? Why would you want to? It's a permanent transfer. It's not as though you can store it in a battery, like you're saying, and then draw off of that somehow. It's not like that's not the way that it works. It's the ritual that you are familiar with. It is a one-for-one transference. You take something, you focus it, you put it somewhere else, and that's where it stays. In your instance, you put it into your ward, which has a sort of sort of a transitive property of its own. You are able to put power into it and draw it back out. But as far as you know, that particular result is unique. That was not what the ritual had intended, or not what the ritual was intended for, is to put the combined power, or the transferred power, into something that it could then later be drawn from. The expectation is, whenever the ritual is complete, you've taken power from one source, you focused it and molded it, and then you've transferred it permanently to another thing. So unless this cube, and you're looking over the schema again, unless this cube is somehow similar to the diviner or the abjurer's ward that you have, or that you had prior to your run-in with this ritual, it doesn't make a lot of sense to you as to why this would be used at all.
Well,
but
hold on. And this would be Makari and Elder kind of talking through it. Didn't you mention something about enhancing and hiding?
Put a cocoon.
Well,
something inside of it. Draw it to.
If we're assuming these are god orbs, right? If the intent is to take all of them and use the ritual to move the power from them to something else.
To one thing.
Right.
One person. One.
Right.
Or enough power to rip.
Might it be that whoever is going to attempt that would want to be in the world's greatest gods can't see what they're doing cage? Because based on the vision that was shared with us, not all of the gods were super keen on at least what we thought we saw in that vision.
As Eldrick says that, Makaria, something snaps into clarity for you. This is exactly what you're looking at. You're looking at a magical Faraday cage.
Makaria looks a little embarrassed, as she was thinking of all the possibilities of being able to hold more and more energy together.
Huh, imagine that.
Wait. We've got... Hold on, let's look at the pieces that we got here. We've got a ritual that only Makaria knows. Well, more or less. We've got a magic Faraday cage, and we just happen to have a wizard who is obsessed with blocking people seeing where she is. I feel like we got the expert right here. Best party hire ever. Thanks, Alan.
Welcome.
Except this is not my... And she points at it. This is coping for something that they don't have knowledge to do all the time. So this is permanent. They didn't have time to set it up properly. They engineered it.
What do you mean they didn't engineer what?
So instead of using just arcane to create like a impenetrable arcane fortress, they used engineering to set it up, so they didn't have to take as much time. She's just looking through her mind, like, instead of doing year-long castings.
Sure, is that good, bad, indifferent? I mean, does it change the outcome?
Well, just depends what they have access to. Someone like me wouldn't have tried this, but that's just me.
A structure can't be dispelled either. Or, there's always a more powerful magic, but the structure would be sort of destroying it.
Well, as you continue along those thought lines, Makaria, it's still, there's something that just sticks out in your head, that something about this line of conversation, this line of questioning is just not right.
Yeah.
There's something like you feel like you're trying to fit what you think is happening inside a box. Literally, you're trying to fit it inside a big obsidian box.
We sure are.
But
nope,
given the properties that you're starting to figure out here, if this is a magical Faraday cage, this is a way inside. If you're inside this box, you are entirely cut off from the weave. There's no magic can reach you, which would be a perfect place to hide, but you would not be able to complete the ritual from inside this structure.
Ooh, a prison of some sort, right?
Do we think maybe they want to just contain the stones?
I think we gotta find this thing, regardless.
Yeah, I think that this is all in character, by the way. I think that my idea of what this might be is clouded by my belief that it has to do with the stones. There might be something else going on here that we're completely unaware of.
Okay, so maybe I missed this, but this design calls for a lot of obsidian, right?
Yep.
Correct.
Like, how much are we talking? Like, enough to build a coffin, the size of a house, the size of a city?
I mean, the word copious means like a building to me.
Based on the sheer amount, if you're interpreting the amount of obsidian correctly, we're talking about hundreds of tons. We're at least talking about the size of a good-sized house, maybe larger.
I'm gonna go scratch on the walls. The house doesn't have to be made of obsidian, does it?
A perfect cube. But suddenly I realize
As you're
my man is the perfect cube.
As you're doing this, you hear as the disapproving voice of Durbin Holy interjects as you begin to scrape the plaster off of the walls.
Hey, Durbin.
My Baron. Apologies for the interruption. I believed this to be of importance enough to risk your displeasure by interrupting your meeting. And he hands you a letter. This arrived for you moments ago.
Appreciate it. Thank you. I'll open it right away.
He-
Explosive runes.
Yeah, I'll back it up.
He, Durbin, Master Holy, glances at the spot on the wall that you were scratching and kind of puts his nose up and turns and exits the room.
Sounds about right. All right, what does my letter say?
The letter has the stamp.
Because it's pretty late at night, right?
It is. The letter has the stamp of your order. But prior to opening it, it is a sealed, folded letter. It's not a scroll. It's a folded letter, sealed with the symbol of the Order of the Golden Cup. It is from a man named Chiar Amand, which is a name that you recognize, though not anyone you've ever met. As a member of a full knight of the Order. It is essentially a response to your Eldrick, your previous request that a member of the Order meet with you within the city within the next few days. It apparently is written from the monastery in Bloodstone Valley, which is a couple 100 or 150 miles to the northwest of here.
Damn.
And it doesn't appear to have... It hasn't been written all that long ago. Probably within the last day or so. Which means that it was rushed here. It expresses condolences, or rather apologies, that no full members of the Order are currently available within the city of Heliogabalus at this time. However, upon first convenience or first ability, a member will be dispatched to the city to fulfill your request. It goes on to offer personal congratulations for your upcoming acceptance into the order as a full knight. And it's signed Chiar Amand, Knight of the Order.
How do you spell Chiar?
Ciar. Amand is Amand.
I got Amand right. I had about 17 too many letters in Chiar. All right.
There is a postscript that requests that you remain in the city until such a time as a knight can be dispatched to meet with you. There is no explanation as to why.
You need to stay in the Faraday cage.
Well, I don't think I'm in the Faraday cage, but I do appear to be where at least 2 specific groups want me to be. The other one
That's
for
never-
reminder. The other one for reminder being the Queen.
Your mother.
Well, okay, 3 groups then.
Mhm.
We've yet to determine whether or not Madeline is part of some plot or whatever, but certainly there are at least 3 people that want Eldrick where he is, and at least one that absolutely does not, which is thoros'l.
I want to be wherever this building is. I think I don't know. This seems like a good lead. One of the better ones we've had in weeks of this whole stone situation.
Yeah. But Makaria's thoughts on it are making me question whether or not it's related at all. I mean, I suspect it is based on how we came by this document, but
Eldrick, whether we know so little about any of this, whether we have no way to know whether it's related or not until we find it and question someone who knows more than we do. Our facts are thin.
they are. Eldrick's going to scoop up the book and say, I have an idea. I'll be right back. And he's going to head for the I don't know what the actual direction is, but on the map it would be northwest where the stairs are to go up.
Okay.
Are we to staying here and finishing off the pastries?
Pastries are quite excellent. I should not be long. There's somebody in the house that might have some answers, at least on whether or not we need to be concerned that my father is involved.
Okay.
Oh, God.
Once Eldrick leaves the room, if he's going by himself, I'm going to stand up and nod to everybody and invisible myself and follow.
Okay. Go ahead and make me a stealth check with advantage.
For the record,
9.
but you're still invisible.
I was this close to counterspelling it under my breath. By the way, I just wanted to, but no.
Nice.
Okay.
Eldrick gets 3 steps out of the room, and his party starts killing each other.
For the purposes of this situation, it's not going to matter, but I should remind everybody that while my party is armed to the teeth, Eldrick doesn't have armor. Eldrick doesn't have a weapon. Eldrick is just in standard, very pomp and circumstance noble clothes.
thoros'l is well aware, hence the invisible follow.
Understood.
Yep.
So, thoros'l, the first obstacle that you come across is the bane of invisible characters everywhere. As Eldrick begins his way up the stairwell, the door to the stairwell closes.
I'll wait until I can't hear him walking.
Sure.
And then open the door and follow.
Okay.
Invisibility only does so much. I'm in heavy
I'll
armor.
close the door with my
Um,
thaumaturgy.
Yeah.
As it opens up and then stays open.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll open it and hold it as I go past, and then
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you can close all the doors.
This gives Alanir and Makaria an odd moment, or 20.
That's true.
I'm
So
sorry, but this whole dinner has been like a awkward moment.
What are you talking about? We came, we ate really good food. My mom flirted with the demon lady. I mean, what do we? Something's weird about this. Totally legit.
Just another day in
Alanir.
Demon Noble's house.
Yeah, I mean the only thing that we didn't do was whip out the blue crystal cocaine and start snorting it off of penguins.
I think Makaria wants to talk to Alanir.
Sorry.
Alanir, when you came to Candlekeep, did you recognize anyone in passing? I mean, she holds up the book. Not someone we know, but it's hard to say. This book has a name on it from someone in Candlekeep, and I just wanted to know, and she'll hand the book to him. If perhaps you might recognize the name.
I'll read the name.
The name is Jadrin Azosha. And the name of the book is Strands of the Weave, Ley Lines of Faerun and Other Arcane Schema.
Okay, as a player, I don't think I've ever heard that name before. As my character.
That is correct. You have never heard that name before. Before tonight.
He'll shake his head. That name doesn't sound familiar, and honestly, I was unfamiliar with everyone at Candlekeep.
And the one that I know is 14.
14 what?
Years old. Same name.
So you're saying you think this book was written by a 14-year-old?
No, I'm more concerned about how this book of a scholar of, well, a vast amount of knowledge and research, how this book got to us from someone who has yet to maybe write it, or somehow, why is it 14 years old knows all this? And her mind starts kind of reeling a little bit, probably because she's been drinking.
Did you ever think that maybe this 14-year-old girl saw the name and just started using it as a moniker?
No, because why would you waste all the talent on someone else's name?
Because you want to stay hidden, or for people to not know who you really are? You forget, I've been using a different face and a different name for a very long time.
Clarification. Are you asking if the girl wrote the book and is using somebody else's name, or are you asking if the girl is just using the name she saw in a book?
Yeah, I think the girl is just using the name she saw in a book.
Thinking that the 14-year-old girl that you know isn't really Jadrin Azosha. She just took that name.
Using her.
Yeah.
Just thoughts. And then she'll just stare.
Alanir will take
the
this
low
time.
power mode.
Low power.
Alanir will say, you've actually never seen what I truly look like.
No.
And he'll use Alter Self to basically show what his human form looks like. Since I can use Alter Self at will.
Or at least what this false face looks like. in the series of Paul State.
You see, and that's why there's a double standard. If you had horns, you would be looked at weird. But at least I got a new best friend and you didn't. Eldrick's mom is my new best friend.
Oh, okay. You forget I'm a druid. I prefer friends of nature. The animals, the plants. Living in a city is highly uncomfortable for me.
Well, let's go ahead and follow Eldrick and eventually thoros'l upstairs. And so, Eldrick, you make your way up to, I assume, to your mother's room. Is that your intent?
Yeah, that's the game plan, right? I'll make my way to the door that leads to her rooms, because we're rich motherfuckers. And I'll give the door a knock and see if anybody answers. I don't know if she has like a servant who kind of watches over her stuff when she's asleep or whatever.
Well, there is a guard that is stationed in the hall outside of your parents' rooms, which is here. And he essentially just nods as you pass by, opens the door for you into the hallway, and then Madeline's room. It's not exactly a suite, but it's a large enough room that is partitioned out of it for her.
I'll greet him by name, which I don't actually know his name, obviously, but I'll greet him by name and thank him, and then head on in. My game plan is
it's Caprin Icaro.
Caprin Icaro. Thank you, Caprin Icaro. Hope you have a fantastic night. A fantastic, uneventful night.
All right, so you bypass Caprin and make your way to your mother's room.
I'll knock on the door to see if she is awake.
She comes to the door. Oh, Eldrick, have your friends gone on? You see she's in a dressing gown. She has dressed down for the evening and still otherwise impeccably put together, but dressed down a bit.
Sure. No, they have not. We are still discussing what we will be doing next. He'll hold up the book that he took off of the table and say, I was hoping to get a second opinion. I know you talked down your studies, but well, you have a mind like a steel trap, and I was wondering if maybe you might remember something about this from your studies.
She looks down at the book in your hands. She kind of looks back up at you, and little creaks of confusion or something of that nature comes across her face. She says, I'm sorry, what?
Ley lines. Have you ever seen anything about ley lines in your study?
Ley lines?
Ley lines. Magical lines that go through the world? I'm gonna be honest, I'm painting with crayons here. The wizard who you took quite the shining to downstairs gave me the words to say.
She kind of nods her head a little bit. What is this? What is this about, Eldrick?
About ley lines.
She takes the book from you. She looks it over. Looks back up at you. Just abject confusion written all across her face. Do you recall? It has been nearly 40 years since the last time I. She kind of just shakes her head. Tries to focus down.
This seems like the kind of book that Father would be reading when you walk into the room, and perhaps he might ramble on about. And again, I've not known you to forget much.
Okay. Okay, Eldrick.
I don't suppose you've ever seen him reading this specific book.
She turns it over. Well, catchy title.
If you say so.
And she's looking over she flips a few pages. Well, this... I don't recall anything specific. You say you got this from your father?
I believe so, yes.
What? Oh, okay.
I had a number of bags. He gave me one, and it may have come from one of the other ones, but I'm fairly certain it's out of the one that Father gave me.
Okay. Well, let me just...
Things get shuffled and travel, you know.
Could I look it over? And it's very late, Eldrick, and I had a little bit to drink, and I'm not exactly at my best. Could I look it
On that
over?
note, how drunk does she seem right now?
Well, give me just a minute. I've got to go do a dad thing, so I will be right back. Stick around, viewers. We're just gonna take maybe a 30-second to 2-minute break, and we'll be right back to wrap up Bloodstone for the evening. Thanks. Coming back to the stream,
Definitely.
Eldrick was
Definitely.
just asking whether or not Madeline appeared to be as drunk or as tired as she seemed to want him to think. So, insight or perception?
It's going to be insight, and that is a 18.
18. All right. Her eyes kind of wander a little bit as you're talking. She kind of is maybe not exactly looking past you, but she seems to be having a little bit of trouble focusing. And she looks down at the book in her hands. It's kind of a heavy tome. She's kind of struggling with it. She kind of leans up against the frame of the door.
Mm-hmm.
She seems to be a little out of sorts. Maybe not falling down, definitely not falling down drunk, because you've never seen your mother lose control like that. But she definitely looks like she's been in her cups.
Gotcha.
And she's kind of wandering, or kind of swaying a little bit as she holds onto the book. So she leans up against the jamb of the door. Seems to be looking down at the book. Kind of squints at it. Kind of draws back a little bit, so she's having a little bit of trouble focusing on what's written. She's like, "Is it important that we go through this tonight? Can I? I'd like to take a closer look at it. Maybe when the light is better tomorrow.
Oh.
We can discuss it at breakfast, perhaps."
Oh, certainly. He'll put his hand out and under the book and kind of scoop it out of her hands. You seem to have a good time this evening. I hope you enjoyed the company of my friends.
Oh, absolutely. You never fail to align yourself with ever more interesting people, my son. In that, I'm not entirely certain about the elves. I worry a little bit. Not that I'm anti-elf, but just those two gentlemen just don't appear to be. Well, they seem a little bit rough, and
one of them is certainly rough.
I don't like to think about my baby boy out in the company of such men.
I mean,
and she kind of like sways forward a little bit.
I'll put a hand on her shoulder to steady her a little bit.
I joked, but it would not be the worst thing in the world if you brought home a girl like that, Makari. People will talk, yes, but, well, let's just say you would have my blessing.
An interesting stance, Mother. And I would say that I haven't failed to notice that Makari is an interesting character. Certainly.
Oh, absolutely she is. What I wouldn't do to pick around inside that brain of hers. She seems to be very, very well read, very learned, like I wanted to be. She kind of leans into you a little bit.
Do I sense a little envy there, Mother?
Eldrick.
Just a skosh. It's okay. It's just us.
I'm sure I don't know what you mean. Regardless,
Given
I've kept you from your friends too long, and I need my rest.
well, that is true. There's one more question that I want to ask you though. And as a paladin, I never lie. I must say that it is the main reason I came up here. And I will be honest, your inebriated state does not hinder me from asking this. When you mentioned my pagehood, there was I've never seen doubt in your face before, or maybe a little sadness, and I saw it there. I'm curious why.
When Titus sent you off with Percival, you have to ask.
Well, I do, but probably not for the reason that you think. You remember I spoke of the odd tentacle ship that we were on in the Astral Sea.
I remember that.
I don't remember. There was much story that night. I don't remember if I told you of the crown that we found, but it allowed us to look into the memories of anyone that had worn the crown. And I will say there are certain people whose memories you should not look into, and I found that out firsthand. However, I looked into my own memories and I found a blank. And that is why I'm asking you this question. You remember when Percival was attacked and I saved him from the goblins?
Make me an insight check.
Damn right I will. This is what I've been waiting for all night. It's this insight check. Oh my god, don't roll a 1. Well, I guess a 14 is going to have to do.
A tear kind of begins to form on one side of Madeline's face, in her eye, and begins to dribble down just a little bit down the side of her cheek, and she just kind of, not so much wilts, but she just leans further into kind of your steadying hand and turns it more into an embrace and just buries her face in your chest and begins
to turn it into a big bear hug.
Begins to sob.
As she does that, Eldrick's going to continue on because he's a brutal POS. Looking into that memory with the crown, I could not see, which should not be the case. So I'm led to believe that what I believe happened then is not the whole truth. And I don't know if you know what is missing. I suspect Father does.
I still just can't talk about that, Eldrick. It was such a terrifying time. You were so little and had not been away from home so long. I was still still so worried. And then, well, the attack, and how could you, a boy of only 6, the damage that could have done to you, not just physical damage, but a boy so young forced to do such awful things. And she's just full on. She's not even looking up at this point in time. She's just full on, just weeping into your chest as she's saying this. She's just a weepy mess. I was afraid that my little boy was gone. When I heard what had happened, I was so afraid. And whenever you came home, when you came home and you were okay, I was worried that you would not be the same. You hear stories. People tell stories of children that are forced to face such horrors, especially in the war and after. And it changes them. A brush with death like that changes a person. And I was so afraid that the boy who came home was not my son.
Eldrick's gonna kind of, still hugging her, kind of look down and look into her eyes, and for probably the first time in his life ever, he is absolutely looking to see if she is either lying or fudging the truth.
Make me another insight check.
26, 19 on the die.
Okay. You can tell she is absolutely holding back. You can't say for certain that she is lying outright, but she is absolutely holding information back. Whenever she sees you, like whenever you pull her back, she refuses to meet your eye for a moment, and after, when she eventually relents, she can't hold your gaze. You don't know if it's embarrassment from she's feigning, or she's making it seem as though she's embarrassed because she's just a weepy mess, and she doesn't want you looking at her like that. But it is very clear that she's intentionally being evasive.
Well, Eldrick's gonna pull her back into a big hug. He's gonna say, "What deal did Father have to make? Is that what you're not telling me?"
What? What do you mean, Eldrick? Your father wasn't even here. He was in the front. He wasn't even home. It was I who had to deal with everything, and your wounds, and not knowing if you were going to live or die, and then Percival. The man was clinging to life. You barely made it here alive, Eldrick. When they brought you to the manor, there was so much blood. Percival. I wasn't equipped to deal with that, not as a mother.
Eldrick's gonna look her in the eye as he's still kind of hugging her and say, "No one can fault you for what you had to do, but I have to know. I've been to places that I cannot describe, and I have been referred to as not Eldrick by beings that see things that I don't. And I have to understand. And I think that day everything changed. But I don't know what, and I need to know. And I think you know something you're not telling me. And I think you're doing it to protect me for the same reason that I won't tell you what's in this bag at my hip."
You are my son, Eldrick. I don't know what else you want.
I want to know why I was called Bane on Rune Kazai. I want to know why these things have apparently become my charge to gather. And I want to know why Father keeps ending up in places that no person who isn't on the same quest I am should be. And I don't think you know all those answers. But I think something happened that day that you do know that can help me. And if you don't want to tell me, I'll understand. But if there's anything you can remember from that day, any minor thing, any person who stopped by, any errant promises that were made, any hallucinations that may have happened, I really need to know. Because I can't do what I need to do without knowing who I really am and what really happened that day.
Your mother grabs a hold of your arms as you're holding onto her. She grabs a hold of you with a strength that is a little startling. Not like super strength, but she grabs a hold of you and she holds you, and she looks you like with a steel in her eyes that is a little startling based on the kind of change that she kind of undergoes. Like she goes from just this sobbing, weepy mess to she looks up in your eyes, and her eyes are clear and they are focused and they are determined. And there's just a very hard set in her jaw. And she grabs you by the arms. She looks up in your face and she says, "You are who you have always been, my son, and you are destined for great things. This doubt in you, I can't answer these questions that you have. These strange things that you've seen, these strange things that you've heard, and these madmen that you've spoken with. Your father, I know so very little about what he does whenever he's away. But I know one thing. You are my son. You have always been my son. You will always be my son. Nothing will ever change that. I don't know how what this quest is that you're on, but I know one thing with absolute certainty. You are Eldrick Oaks, son of Titus and Madeline Oaks. And that, Eldrick, that is everything."
Eldrick's gonna give her a big hug. Tell her that he loves her. And then he's gonna say, "I think there are things Father is not telling me, and I'm gonna need to enter his offices today. I would like to do so with your blessing."
She glances out the door and down the hall. Like, so you're standing here at her doorway. One of the doorways to your father's office is here.
Mm-hmm. Wait, hold on. That's his offices up there? I thought they were
This is
down
his office.
south.
Nope, this is his office. His personal office, his study. His offices, his professional offices are down here with.
Oh, I gotcha.
If that's what you're talking about, then.
Well, Eldrick means both, but I didn't realize that there was a division.
She kind of glances down the hall. Thoros'l, make me a perception or insight check.
Okay.
Madeline's got true sight.
22 perception.
You think for a moment that perhaps she saw you. As she kind of looks past Eldrick, it's almost as though your eyes meet, and then she quickly turns and glances at the door that you're standing near, which is just behind you. And so from your perspective, Eldrick, not knowing that Thoros'l is there, she glances down the hall behind you.
Yep.
Gives you a nod and says, call Durbin. He has the key." whatever you need, my son. This is your home. I'll not hide anything from you in your home.
Eldrick will give her another big hug, and he'll look her straight in the eye and he'll say, I am always here for you, no matter what happens.
And I, you, little boy.
Only like a foot taller than her.
Never forget, all that your father and I do, we do for you. I don't know, and she kind of waves off what you, probably what is the expected comeback, or I don't know what is that you think your father is mixed up in, what he may be mixed up in, but I know that whatever he does is exactly as what I do. We do everything for you.
I don't doubt that on either of your accounts for a moment. I just wish that he would tell me more. It would make things easier.
Let me have the book. I will look at it a bit. I don't think I'll be able to sleep for a little while anyway.
Absolutely. I see party members shaking their heads. There's no chance. We had a touching moment, man. There's no chance he says no to this.
She takes the book. She gives you a squeeze. Says, I need to think. I need to be alone with my thoughts. I need to think about this. She kind of looks as though she's about to say something else. And she just kind of gives your arm a pat and kind of extracts herself from your grip. Just rest well, my son. Be at ease here. This is your home.
Certainly.
And she shuts the door.
All right. And then I'm going to head over to find Durbin. Holy.
He is not difficult to find. He is... as you start to make your way back down the stairs to go look for him, he makes his presence known. He is back in the Great Hall. Probably has been for some time, as Macaria and Alanir awkwardly sit and munch and whatever it is that they're doing or chatting about. Once you have need of him or want of him, he very quickly appears. Yes, my Lord Baron. What is it you have need?
Out of character, is the proper way to refer to him Master Holy or Mr. Holy?
Your father has always your mother and father have always referred to him as Master Holy.
All right. Master Holy, I apologize for having to trouble you this late at night. I need to get into my father's personal study.
His eyes narrow for a second. He doesn't appear to he's still impeccably dressed. Doesn't appear that he has started shutting down for the evening at all. And
I'm sure Eldrick has this perception that Holy never sleeps. He's an automaton. He's just there to do the will of the universe.
He certainly gives that impression. He lives up to that impression now. He very much does feel as though he is the unthinking, unfeeling automaton that, yeah, exactly, exists only to fulfill your whims.
Well, to fulfill my father's whims.
Perhaps.
Eldrick questions whether or not Holy... In Eldrick's head, there's a scenario where Holy goes, nah, bro. This door ain't opening. Suck eggs.
Well, that is not the scenario that plays out here. He says, at once, my Lord Baron. Allow me to fetch the key.
Certainly, I'll meet you at the doorway. Appreciated. Thank you.
He disappears for a short time.
While he's doing that, I'm going to go get my cadre and inquire where the hell thoros'l went.
Yeah, you make it back to the
Mhm.
the hall, and as you're talking with Holy, it occurs to you that thoros'l is not in the room. thoros'l, what are you doing?
Well, what I want to do is something that thoros'l probably won't do, so I'll continue to shadow Eldrick.
Wait,
And
what
once
do you want to do? I'm very curious.
I want that book back. Damn it.
Oh well, sorry about you. That book's gone.
Yeah, that
She's
book's
gonna
gone.
burning hands of that while we sleep.
Yeah, it's gone. Once
Oh, there was a
Durbin
candle accident. Sorry.
leaves, once Durbin leaves the room, I'll speak up. Been shadowing you.
Appreciate it.
So what did you find out?
Nothing particularly useful to this group. I am going to search my father's office. I would appreciate if this is my father's personal study, so I don't really want to bring everybody in there, but Makaria, I could use your aid if you don't mind.
I'll be going as well.
Right? Bring the wolf right into where the sheep are.
Yeah, I'll be invisible. I'm sure nobody can hear.
Well, you're invisible. You're going to go where you're going to go.
Okay. A few moments later, so thoros'l, you're going to be invisible again?
I'm still invisible.
Oh, I
as
see.
far
I
as
see.
goes.
Okay. Then, yeah, a few moments later, Durbin Holy arrives with a ring of keys and accompanies you upstairs. He gives you some more somewhat dark looks, Eldrick, as he notices that you're bringing Makaria up with you, but he keeps his mouth shut. He's very clearly not pleased, but he's certainly not going to say anything.
Man, I like this guy more and more every time he
Dur-
enters this scene.
Durbin Holy is best NPC. I can't wait to find out that he is massively holding back and a giant linchpin in the evil plot.
Everybody's a bad guy for you guys.
No.
He's the evil Alfred.
Four
He
people.
knows everything.
4 people are the bad guys for us. Jim, Titus, Durbin, Makaria. In that
Not
order.
in that order.
No. We don't talk about that.
What about little scary girl in Nellick?
Nah, she's a minor player. Not worried about her.
Minor players.
100% not worried about it. We probably won't see her again.
Durbin is only the best NPC because Will is no longer.
God,
Just gotta bring that up.
Out of character, what do I know about Will right now? I know he went south, but do I know anything bad happened to him? Like the Impilter group knows exactly what happened to him, but I do not. Eldrick does not.
All that Eldrick knows is that he never made his way. He never made it to Heliogopolis. His entire squad was slaughtered on the road just outside of Heliogopolis.
Mm-hmm. Headed back, right? Because they originally were taking prisoners south or whatever.
You passed them as they were doing their thing. They were taking the prisoners, the mercenary band that you captured, that were implicit in the plot against thoros'l.
Right.
Or complicit, not implicit, but they were complicit in the plot to at the king's birthday party. They were being exiled from the country. His squad was escorting them. They never made it to Helio. They were going to go to Helio and then beyond through Polton and down to the southern border to exile them.
Gotcha.
But they never made it to Helio. His squad and the prisoners were all found dead and burned beyond recognition, just outside.
But not Will.
But Will's body was never found.
Right. For the crowd, Will S. Preston Esquire was Eldrick Oaks' squire for the beginning of this campaign. who made a name for himself and got a promotion, and then apparently disappeared on the road. Now I won't spoil because there is another campaign where we found out what happened to him, but Eldrick doesn't know that.
More to come in Bloodstone backstory, which is still actively being worked on. Keep an eye on our YouTube channel for more about that.
Very excited. Anyway, all right. So then I'm gonna head up to the office with. I assume Durbin's gonna open it for me as opposed to giving me the key.
Yes, he will do exactly that.
That seems about right.
He will put the key in the lock. He will ensure that the door is unlocked by turning the handle and leaving
How
the
many
door
times does he turn the handle?
just once.
Does he seem to turn it in a specific direction?
Nope.
Does he knock on the door at all while he's doing it?
He does nothing of the sort.
Does he say any words while he's doing it?
Make me a perception check.
100%. Also, does he look at the ceiling while he's doing it?
Perception check.
+2. 13 to see him doing crackadoo stuff while he's opening the door.
What you see him do? He approaches the door. He raises the ring of keys that he has at he's brought from wherever he got them.
Mm-hmm.
He expertly finds a single key. He places it in the lock. He turns it once. He turns it back. He removes the key from the lock. He makes a single half turn of the knob. The door opens slightly. He leaves it ajar. He withdraws.
Excellent. This is paranoia. This is paranoia at work right here. All right. Well, then.
Macaria taps.
Yeah.
Eldrick. You might want to get the keys, just in case.
He's not going to give me the keys. All right. Eldrick's going to open the door.
Hold on. Oh. Macaria. Oh, hold on. Never mind.
Are you going to detect magic on the keys? Is that what's happening here? Because I guarantee there's an extra dimensional space in this house somewhere.
She's going to, again, ask you, Eldrick. Just get the keys, just in case, please.
Durbin gives Macaria a black look. It is beyond dark. It is a black look. He lets go of the key that was on the ring. You can see that there are probably maybe 10 or 12 keys on the ring. He places the ring. He looks at Eldrick, places the key ring in a pocket, looks back at Macaria, turns and walks away.
Eldrick doesn't even ask. He knows better. He's not going to insult the man that way.
But Macaria just did.
Sure.
Macaria.
That's her problem later on when he murders her in her sleep. Sorry.
You see Macaria start tracing an arcane symbol in the air. I would say, and she just cuts it off.
As he leaves, Eldrick's going to escort her into the room and say, Durbin has worked for my family for a very long time. There are certain insults that I don't plan to impart upon him. I don't question his loyalty so much as I question my father's intentions to hide things from me. If we need the keys later, we can always get them, but I need not apply that slight to him now.
Okay. You open the door.
Mm-hmm. Do I find Titus Oakes sitting at his desk? Well, son, how are you?
You do not. It opens into a not very large room. It's fairly nondescript. Well, nondescript is not exactly the word that I should use here. It is an office. It is, and I'm looking at the wrong thing on the map. That's why I was not.
This is the office that Madeline and I had the extended conversation in, yeah?
That is correct.
The other one?
Okay. No, that's correct. The office of Titus Oakes, and unfortunately I don't have it it all decked out on the physical map for you at this point in time. I apologize for that. It is what you would expect to see for a nobleman's study. There is a large, ornate desk with what appears to be a comfortable yet stately chair against the far wall. The walls are lined with bookshelves and art of various types. There are a few small busts, probably done in marble or some other smaller, or some other type of stone. Real quick perception check, Makaria and Eldrick.
And the Russell.
20,
And
20 18 on the die.
And thoros'l, since thoros'l is invisible.
Gentleman's 20 for Eldrick.
Same.
13.
Both of the gentleman's 20s or the dirty 20s. You recognize that there is a resting in this corner. There's a small, like, kind of like a wrought gold, I think, stand, like kind of like almost like a tripod, and it's between two chairs, like as though it were an end table. This wrought gold, or maybe it's iron gold plated, but regardless, is this intricate kind of tripod that it is kind of stands there in the corner and rises up, and at the crown where you would expect there to be like a flat surface for the table, there is a large, probably 10-inch in diameter, black sphere that appears to be made of obsidian. Polished obsidian.
Question. So I was here with my mother, Madeline, before I went to the Underdark. My understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, my father has not been back here since I went to the Underdark.
As far as you recall,
As far as I know.
Yes, I believe that to be the case.
Was that here the last time I was here?
Yes. You
Okay.
recall having seen it
was
before.
just nondescript at the time. Didn't strike out.
Okay,
Gotcha.
It didn't strike any particular chords with you before, and as you're looking at it now, you're just kind of like, huh, right.
So, on that note, the very first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to hold a hand out for Makaria to keep her from entering for just a moment. Is anything in the room different than what I remember from when I was here last time?
Perception check.
Wow, perception check.
Makaria will twist a ring on her finger and cast Detect Magic instead of doing it as a ritual.
18.
Eldrick, you do not notice anything out of the ordinary in your father's study.
Okay. Things are where I remember them being,
yes.
more or less.
And just kind of instinctively, without thinking about it,
I look to the statuette.
You look to the case. It's a glass case built into one of the bookshelves. It's got several small pieces of art and things that are in it behind glass. One of the things that you see is the small, what appears to be a white porcelain statuette of a woman with her hands raised, like as though she's warding off a blow. Makaria, you cast your Detect Magic, and you immediately notice a small handful of things that give off a magical aura. Number one is, well, let me finish the description of the room as a whole before we get to that point. But and we're gonna wrap this up here really shortly. And Sim, if you got to go, feel free. I apologize, if we don't get back to you before then. But if you got to drop, then by all means, go ahead. So, in addition to the bookcases, the display cases for various pieces of art, there are various like paintings and things that are arrayed across the room. It looks like very, very tasteful, very simplistic, or understated, I guess, not simplistic, but a very understated nobleman's study. Exactly what you would expect by walking into such a room. There is a fireplace that is against the southern wall, which is this one here, and the only other major feature, the thing that sets everything apart from, or the one thing that catches your gaze, Makaria and thoros'l, because you've never been in here before, is the floor. The floor from wall to wall, all the way across the study itself. There are no carpets, there are no rugs, there are no dressings on the floor apart from just the few pieces of furniture that are in here. A couple of chairs for sitting, an end table on one side of each of the chairs, that stand that I mentioned that had the obsidian orb in it, the bookcases, but otherwise the entirety of the floor is covered in a beautiful, very intricate mosaic of the nation of Damara, with Lake Mogador, the lake right outside the city, and the city of Heliogabalus very prominently featuring in the center of the room. And in the center of that Heliogabalus mosaic is a tree, not like the signifying oak heart. So the very exact center of this room would be Oakheart, where you're standing right now, in that mosaic. Everything else is built out around it. Just a beautiful piece. It must have taken years for somebody to have put this together. But it is a very intricate, very detailed map, effectively, of the Bloodstone Kingdom, or the previous nation kingdom of Damara, with Oakheart at its very center. As far as magic goes, Makaria, since you asked, there are a number of sconces on the walls that, instead of having torches in them, or candles, or any sort of lanterns in them, they do radiate. They appear to have small crystalline torches. Night Samurai.
You mean they don't have the silver magic candles that they were given in them?
They do not have silver candles in them. They have what appear to be small crystalline torches, or stylized crystalline torches that radiate a very, very faint aura of magic. The fireplace radiates an aura of magic. And apologies, I'm going to have to make some modifications here since Alanir dropped. So bear with me just a second. But that is it. Just the fireplace and the sconces are the only thing that radiate any magic at all in the entirety of the room.
Well, Eldrick, at least nothing immediately pops out other than beautiful floor.
Yes, my father has always had a love for his country and his family. Eldrick doesn't even look at the floor. He's seen it a million times, probably. He, however, is fixed on the glass case in the back, and he kind of glances towards the desk as if he's trying to make sure that whatever's there is what was there last time, but he heads back for the glass case in the back.
As always, as every time you've ever stepped into your father's office, with the exception of one, The desk is entirely clear, empty. On top, there's nothing left on top of his desk except the letter that you left for him, still sealed.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's not. It wasn't sealed whenever you came the last time.
Mm-hmm.
Your mother copped to opening your father's mail.
Mm, yeah. Well, specifically that piece of mail, because I asked about it. Yep.
But it's still here. It's still in the envelope that you left, or your whatever state that you left it in. But the seal is still broken.
All right. Eldrick, as he walks across the room, is going to say, I'm going to go through his desk in a moment. But Makaria, there's something I'd like you to look at before we do that. He's going to cross across the room like a man on a friggin' mission. And he's going to very gently pull a very specific porcelain figure out of the cabinet in the back. And he's going to bring that to the desk and gesture Makaria over. And it's the one that Ponies described as the porcelain figure of the woman who looks like she's like trying to ward off something.
Yeah, it is an 8-inch statuette, in very intricate detail. Appears to be in all white porcelain, of a beautiful woman, or at least you think that she might be beautiful. She is in a position with her hands raised in front of her face as though she is attempting to ward off a blow, and the look on her face is just abject terror. I say that she would be beautiful, but her beauty is marred by the abject look of terror on her face. But what you are struck by, Makaria, as you're looking at it, is that it is so very intricately made. Like the sculptor who produced this is a master beyond masters. You can see individual stitches in her kind of common gown. You can see individual hairs from the very I'm gonna say lavish, her very plentiful mane of hair, as it is kind of radiating out from her head, as though it was like whipped back as she drew back into this position. Like, you can see individual hairs sticking out. You can see, what appear to be scars on her hands. Maybe like a scar across the palm of one of her hands. You can see the nail beds of her hands. Her nails appear to be broken. It is very intricate.
As Eldrick sets it down on the desk incredibly daintily, like you've never seen him be this gentle with anything, he says, "This is," and he kind of pauses for a second, "or was a woman named Tana, who we fought in the land of Vasa, and then I followed north in an ethereal state to a city known as Palacechuck. She, as best the greatest wizards of Helio could tell me, was turned into this by a spell of an incalculable power that they were incapable of surmounting. Unfortunately, if you touch this statue, you will not feel the hum of power that it once radiated, as a thief broke into this house and shattered, likely accidentally, this particular piece of what they probably considered was art. I would appreciate if you could take whatever powers it is that you have and let me know if there is anything that might be done to save the woman that was once this statue. If you cannot, I will not hold that against you, but you are perhaps the most powerful spellcaster I have ever met. And I think, as you are well aware, I will do almost anything for my friends.
Makaria, you notice as you're looking at this statue and the kind of the elder words kind of wash over you, you detect only the very faintest aura of magic. Transmutation, just the same, but very, very faint. As though it's a spell that was cast, a very minor spell cast months ago. And that is where we're going to end tonight's session. Thank you to the viewers, to the cast, everybody. Hope you had a great time. I know we did. Vamp is still having a good time. I don't know.
Sorry, I'm doing research.
Absolutely. We will call tonight's session here. We'll pick up next Tuesday, the 11th, unless something catastrophic happens in the meantime. Thanks again for coming out tonight. We will be picking up with Four Dads of the Apocalypse on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of this week. So if you're interested in League of Legends and ARAMs, please join us for that. Otherwise, we hope you have a great week, have a great night, and we will see you next Tuesday. Good night.